going to be based on your preferences. Ano ba yung plano mo? Saan mo ba gustong pumunta? So, pagka nakaharap ka rin ng financial advisor, yun din yung magiging tema. So, ngayon, makikita nyo itong table na to. It's actually a checking kung gaano katagal mo makukuha yung 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. How many years would it take you to get there? It's going to be up to you. But why do we want to get to a certain point? It's because we want to teach you later on financial security, financial stability. What does brighter life mean? And a brighter life it means a number. So we're going to define that. So later on, we're going to dwell on this specific presentation, pero let's move on to that. So what does brighter life mean to you? For some, syempre hindi ko na kayo i-unmute para hindi na tayo time consuming. Most of you, I guess, would answer. Kasi lahat ng clients ko tinatanong ko yan. So what does brighter life mean to you? Ano yung magandang buhay para sa'yo? Most of them would answer, it's going to be reaching a financial freedom, financial security, good retirement, ano pa? For some, it's going to be yung mayaman na siya. Ibig sabihin, I have nothing to worry about. If I'm not going to earn or to work hard today, I'm not going to worry na wala na akong pagkukuhaan ng pera na yun. Or wala akong pagkukuhaan ng resources. And therefore, financial freedom is actually a number. Why is it a number? Because there's going to be an amount that is equivalent to your feeling of financial security. So it's not an age anymore. So before, our age of retirement is 65, right? So sabi nila dati, pag nag-retire ako, okay na ako. May makukuha ako sa company kung saan ako nagtatrabaho. And it's going to support me for the entire duration of my retirement period. Which is somehow correct before. Kasi before, ang landscape ng corporate world natin is mag-stay ka sa company for 20, 30, 40 years. You're going to retire at age 65. And because you have tenure, you were able to gather a huge amount of retirement pay. Before, our retirees live up to 67, 68. Medyo 70, matanda na yun. Pero what I'm trying to drive at is somehow enough yung naipon nila sa corporate na retirement pay to support them on their retirement years. Pero ngayon, yung corporate landscape natin medyo nag-iiba. Tama ba yun? If you're going to ask a millennial kung magtatagal ba siya ng 5 years sa job niya, yung iba dyan, tatawa sa'yo. Tama ba yun, Jessa? Charot, parang tumawa kayo. So, uso din yun sa mga auditor. Tama ba? Yan.
No comment muna.
Comment muna. Kasi magpo-promotion charing. So, sa mga engineer, ganun din ba? Jomar, nakailang work ka na?
Opo, nakadalawa na. Dalawa.
May plano kang mag-resign sa current work mo?
As of now, kailangan sagutin.
Mo na sabihin.
May ka-office mate ako dito eh. Sabay ganun eh.
I mean, normal landscape kasi. I mean, I have actually a client company. Diba nagpa-public practice ako. Meron akong client na company sila. Alam niyo yung design ng program namin? Mapag-stay lang namin yung employees nila for 3 years. So, ibig sabihin, ganun kahirap pa-stayin yung mga empleyado in a certain company for a specific period of time. And what do we mean by that? Ano yung magiging repercussions niya? Pagka yung mga employee doesn't stay within the same job for a long time, they will not incur tenure. Hindi sila makakabuo ng retirement plan. And because none of them stay for long for a company, retirement average age right now is actually at 52 na lang. Imagine that. So kung at 52, retired ka na, and you're going to live up to what age? 65, 70? on that 18 years, 20 years, do you think you've saved enough for you to live on your own on those periods? Considering, hindi ka nagstay sa company and therefore wala kang malaking retirement pay at that time. So that is something to ponder at. So next time you shift your work, maybe consider also yung pino-forgo nyo na retirement benefit. Because if you wanted to get a higher salary by transferring from one job to another, you have to secure your own retirement fund. And there is a number for that. So dahil CPA ako, I don't hate numbers. But maybe some of you are galit sa numero. Meron ba dito nun? May magre-raise ng hand ba dyan? Yung mga ayaw sa number. Meron bang ganun? So wala naman. Parang lahat laban sa number. Because we have to love numbers, right? Because everything is translated into numbers. Your salaries are numbers. Your expenses are numbers. And your target financial fund should also be in numbers. Kasi kung hindi mo alam yan, hindi mo mapupuntahan yan. At hindi mo gagawa ng paraan para ma-achieve yun. And that is one lesson you have to take home for the night. So, add-ons na lang yung mga investments na didiscuss natin. Okay ba yun? So, your financial freedom fund, your retirement time, it's not an age. It is a number. And we are going to define that tonight on your own later using a calculator. So we go back to the question, what is your financial goal in life? You want to be rich? You want to retire? You want to be financially independent? Then you have to compute. Determine how much is that number. When are you going to say that, okay na yung naipon ko? Pwede na akong mag-retire. Or okay na yung funds ko, financially independent na ako. Okay na yung funds na naipon ko, mayaman na ako. So it's going to be different for each one of you because you have different preferences. You have different goals. You have different lifestyles. And whatever it is, you have to determine that. Put it into numbers, make it as your goal, and go get it. So yan. So ano yung mga importante natin na kailangan gawin? So you have to know your goal, yun na, dinefine na natin. You have to check your options. Kaya nga tayo nandito ngayong gabi. Kaya ako ilalatag sa inyo mamaya yung mga different options na meron kayo. And then, you have to start your journey to financial freedom. At some point, you have to take that first step towards achieving the goal. After you define the goal, you have to check all your options. Simplify it if you want, but you have to check your options and then start. So, dahil dyan, may konti tayong pa-activity ng 1 minuto lang. So don't worry, I'm not going to ask this from you one-on-one. I just like you guys to get a calculator. So wala kayong excuse kasi yung mga cellphone po ngayon, built-in po yung calculator dyan. So pwede nyo pong ilabas yung mga cellphones nyo. Tapos, gusto mo ilagay mo na rin dyan yung salary mo. Siyempre, alam mo na sa isip mo yun, di ba? So, ang gagawin natin is to identify how much your siguro pseudo retirement fund for now. Ibig sabihin ng pseudo, ano lang, tansya-tansya, estimate muna. And then later on, if you want to define it ng detail, you have your financial advisor. You go ask them to help you figure it out. So for now, I'd like you to get your current age. Tapos, ano yung target retirement age mo? Is it 55, 45, 65, 70? So whatever it is. And then that number, let's say it's 20 years from now, you key in your calculator 1.05. If that is a scientific calculator, press yung ganon. Kumbaga, i-erase natin to the value. Tapos, lagay mo yung time. So, 1.05 raised to 20 years. Kung naka-Apple ka, tapos naka-calculator ka ng Apple, press mo 1.05, tapos dalawang times, and then press equals the number of times. Kung 20 years, 20 times. So, can you give a sample of your data? Kunyari, Daniel, ikaw. Ano yung makukuha mo dyan, for example? Tapos, i-multiply mo yun sa salary. Sige nga, i-try natin.
Sige. So sa akin, let's say for example, 20,000 sa akin. So retirement age ko is 40 years old sana. Tas current age ko naman ngayon is 24. So 16 years pa yon. So tama, di ba? Gagawin ko 16 times 1.0 times, hindi, 20,000 times 12 times 1.05 times 16. So ang retirement ko is 4,032,000.
Sige. 1.05, erase mo muna dun sa number of years.
Okay. Sige.
Bago ka mag-retire. Tapos times mo dun sa 22,000 mo. Magkano yung nakuha mo?
369.
Okay.
Ay, per month lang pala yung nagamit ko.
369.
Times 12. 264. Bali, 264 yung salary. Per year yan, di ba? 16 times 1.05 times 264.
So,
Bali, ang nakuha ko is 4.4 million. 4.4 million lahat.
1 year lang yan.
1 year lang to?
Tinimes mo sa 12?
Tinimes ko sa 12.
Oo, tinimes mo sa 12. Yes.
Tinimes ko na to sa 12.
So, kita mo kung gaano kalaki yan. Times 12, 1 year ka lang ba mabubuhay?
Hindi. Doable yan. Kaya natin yan.
So, whatever it is, your target number is going to be big. Pero, bakit ko kayo binalik sa slide na to? Kasi even if at this point, feeling mo ang layo-layo niya, let's say 4 million. Sabihin natin na i-times natin yan sa 10. Kung 10 years lang siya mabubuhay. So 40 million yun, di ba? Right now, parang ang layo-layo ng 40 million. Right? Pero I'd like to give hope to everyone that if you have that target in mind and you're going to work hard to get it, at some point, mas madali siyang mag-multiply. Based on the studies, when you have 10 million, for the first couple of years, it's just going to earn compounding. Ibig sabihin, mag-earn lang siya ng interest. And then, there will be a time, darating yung time na multiples na yung usapan. Ayan na yung, kasi may 20 million ka na, 30 million ka na, kapag ka mas malaki yung capital mo, iba yung usapan ng mga mayayaman, guys. We don't talk compounding. They talk multiples. So, kailan mo madodoble yung 10M ko? Kailan mo madodoble yung 50M ko? And therefore, achieving your target becomes easier once you establish that small goals that you have. So, work on your first million first, and then the game changes. Work on your first 10 million first, and then it changes again until you reach your magic number. But be sure to define it. Tapos, pag na-define mo yun, huwag kang matakot. Why? For example, for Daniel, you still have 18 years. And 18 years is such a long time. At least, the earlier you define the number, the earlier you can work towards it. So, yun. And dahil nga medyo malaki yung numbers na nakuha natin, we have to make sure we get some help. And we have to get the most help that we can get. So one major way on how you can get help is to let your money also work for you. Why? Your money is your best servant. It does not sleep. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't even go on vacation. So put it into working. So wag mo siyang itenga. Why? Because it's your best worker. At dahil dyan, pupunta na tayo sa topic natin for tonight. Excited na ba kayo?
Yes.
So, yeah. what are the different investment vehicles? And later on, let's define which one is actually suited for you. Kasi there are a lot. Pero ang question is, paano ba ako pipili? Tama? So, dinefine muna natin si investment. It is an asset or item acquired with the goal of generating income or appreciation. In an economic sense, an investment is the purchase of goods that are not consumed today, but are used in the future to create wealth. So by definition, it is something with capital you put into action to generate profit, and you leave it there with time to appreciate. So ano yung mga basic components ng investment? Ang basic components niya is capital, time, and hope of profit, and of course, the risk. And also, I'd like to add, kailangan may idea ka din kung ano siya. So, hindi pwede na sabak ng sabak. So, babalikan natin. If you want to go in investment, ano-ano yung mga kaakbay niya? Ano-ano yung mga kasama niya? Kasama niya is capital, dapat meron ka. You have to have time because it will not double on its own and right there and then. You aim to have a profit, but there is also a risk of loss. And lastly, you have to have the knowledge for you to be able to gain tremendously on your investment. So what are the advantages? Advantages, high risk present potential for high return. So pwedeng malaki yung kinikita. It can also beat inflation in most cases. So yung inflation yung pagmahal ng bilihin. So in looking for investment, number one basic target is actually just to beat the inflation para lang hindi nalulugi yung value ng pera. And then advantage also is better vehicle to grow your money over long term. Lalo na kung nakatenga lang naman. Disadvantages, it is easily affected by volatile market condition. Kaya nga, pinakilala ko sa inyo na may risk si investment. Non-guaranteed returns normally. And then there is a risk of losing the capital. So, an examples we have stocks, mutual fund, bonds, money market, foreign currency. So, dahil napanggit natin yung time, yan, ano ba yung risk tolerance mo? So, sabi nila, the younger you are, definitely the higher risk you can take in. Why? Because you have huge amount of time to dedicate to make your investment earn. So, kagaya kay Daniel, 18 years pa. So, kaya niya pang sugalan yung ups and downs ng market. Kaya niyang it-week at certain time kasi meron siyang time. Diba? Hindi katulad nung 2 years na lang yung tinitignan. May goal ako after 2 years ko na kailangan. Paano mo i-correct kung nag-50% dip yung investment mo on the second year? So, time is really important. Pero before we dig deeper into that, so I'll go back to the general types of investment. So, ano-ano ba yung mga meron tayo na investment? So, in accounting, dahil accountant ako, merong 2 types of investments. Ownership investment or lending investment. So, syempre, yung mga i-discuss natin dito, yung mga registered lang, yung mga legals lang. Tama ba yun? Syempre, yung 5-6, huwag na natin yung pag-usapan, guys. Alam ko malaki yung kitaan doon, pero hindi yun kasama sa lending. So, ano yung ibig sabihin when I say lending investments? So, it actually talks about bonds, commercial deposits, saving account, treasury bills. Your saving accounts are actually lending investment. You earn a little based on that, like 2.0025%. Kaya nga, di ba, debit, credit, creditor ka ng banko. And in return, you're going to lend your money to someone else for them to earn also. On the other hand, what are ownership investments? So, I buy stocks. Later on, pag nag-price yung price niya, I'm going to earn over it. Real estate, I own property. So, pag bumili ako ng property, tapos nag-appreciate yung value niya, I earn over that, or pinarenta ko siya. Precious objects, bags, gold, paintings, and even business. So, if I'm going to go into business, it's a form of investment also. So, we can also categorize this into 3 major categories. Later on, we're going to dig deeper on stocks. Kasi dun ako mas inclined and dun ako mas maraming alam. For others, we're just going to define it. Hahapyawan lang natin ng konti. Tapos mag-share lang ako ng konting experience, but we're not going to dig deeper on those. I'm just going to present it so that you know there are a lot of options. You have a lot of options. So depending on which is present and which is more applicable for you, you can have an investment on hand. So stocks, bonds, and alternatives. So let's talk about alternatives first para mawala na sila kasi hindi naman sila yung main topic natin. So you can go into real estate. Any real estate you buy and then rent out or resell is an ownership investment. So sabi ko kanina, ang kailangan mo capital, time, profit, risk, and knowledge. For a real estate, yung capital mo medyo malaki. Tama? So it's either magka-cash out ka dyan ng medyo malaking equity, like 20%, or gagawin mo, ilo-loan mo siya. So if you're going to loan it, my suggestion is you weigh out what? The possibility of paying more interest expense than really gaining rent income. Kasi doon minsan nalulugi eh. Hindi niya na-calculate na mas malaki pala yung nagastos niya doon sa rental expense. Kala niya kumikita siya, pero ang totoo, mas mataas pa yung interest expense kaysa sa rental income. Number 2, downside ng real estate is, hindi mo siya mabenta agad-agad. Like for example ngayon, kung nagka-emergency ka bigla, hindi mo siya mabibenta agad-agad. And therefore, the time should be long. Kasi yung sinasabi nila, for example, ang market value na is 5M. So sabihin nga natin 5M, pero sino yung willing to buy at a specific time at 5M? Mabibenta mo pa siya doon. Minsan, yung mga nasa real estate na hindi talaga pinag-aralan before they come into real estate, nalulugi pa sila because they have to sell it at a loss. And I have a lot of friends na ganyan yung nangyari. They bought condos on a pre-selling agreement. Hindi nila pinag-aralan yung terms. Nung ita-turn over na hindi pala nila kaya yung amortization. Tapos ibebenta nila ng palugya yung real estate. Pero ano yung upside naman ng real estate? Yung profit here could be really high. Ipinag-aralan mo siyang mabuti. So I have one mentor. Ang sabi niya, Tina, do you want to make your 1 million, 5 million in just 3 years? So sabi ko, syempre. Ang sabi niya, go into real estate. Buy a pre-selling condo at 1 million, tapos turn over siya, loan the amount, tapos iparent out mo at specific amount na dapat bangga dun sa monthly amortization. And then after 3 years, sell it out. So condos in BGC, triple times 4 times 5. So some people who has a capital of 1 million there gained 3 million, 4 million at a specific time. So if you are good in this business, you can really get a high return on it. So the risk is, yes, it's not liquid and therefore there is a probability of loss kasi kung mamadaliin mong ibenta. Knowledge, you should take a consideration first. Lahat i-consider mo yung timing, hindi ka ba magigipit sa amortization, paano kung biglang walang lumenta. Lahat yun dapat i-consider mo when you're going into real estate. And of course, there are also experts on this field that you can consult. Don't be afraid to consult. Mas mahal yung nagdi-DIY at some cases. Lalo na kung medyo malaking investment yung pinag-uusapan. I suggest you consult an expert. Next natin is precious objects. Alam mo yung mga lalaki, ano nila to, peg nila to. Ay, mga babae din pala. So I heard one client investment niya, alam mo kung ano? Bags. So, dati, akala ko, bags are luxuries. Yung, ano lang, anong ibig sabihin nun? Luho. Pero some people view it differently. Meron din ako nakausap na client, recently lang, last Saturday, bumibili siya ng mga Jordan limited shoes. Sabi ko, bakit kailangan bumili ka ng, tapos hindi naman siya nagbabasketball, so hindi naman niya sinusuot yung sapatos talaga. Tapos, to my surprise, sabi niya investment daw. Grabe no? Ang sabi niya, binili ko yan, for example, 15,000 pesos. So, kumaga, sale niya nabili, ganyan-ganyan, or whatever. Mabibenta niya daw yun at 60,000 or at 80,000. Sabi ko, talaga ba? Ganun yun talaga. Tapos yung kapatid ko na nagbabasketball, confirm. Ganun daw talaga yun pag yung mga Jordan na limited edition. Sabi ko, ay, amazing. So that's one. Others, like yung mga bosses natin sa Sun Life, they collect paintings. So that's also one. Ako naman, ang hilig ko before is yung jewelries. So, the capital is medium to high. So, depende dun sa object. Meron din naman mga small. Kaya medium to long term also kasi hindi naman siya agad-agad nag-appraise. Profit is minimal to good. Depende sa type ng precious commodity that you have. Risk is also risk of loss kasi baka naman hindi naman talaga siya mag-appraise. Or kunyari, yung mga gold na nanakaw siya, nawawala, misplace. Tapos, hindi mo rin basta-basta nagbenta. And then, knowledge, just basic knowledge. Di ba? Para i-authenticate yung commodities na meron. So, yan. Next natin is business. You can also, one form of an investment is also business. Putting a money towards starting your own business, a product, or a service meant to earn a profit. It's another type of ownership investment. So, ang capital mo dyan, pwedeng maliit. Yung iba, wala silang capital. Pwedeng medium, pwedeng high. Yung time mo, pwedeng one day lang kasi nag-buy and sell ka kung may bumenta agad. Pwede rin it takes forever, hindi na kumita. So, I have few friends na nalugi. I also have few friends who are really good in their business and is earning a lot. Profit depends on your knowledge, capital, and preparedness and your time allotted to the business. Risk, it can be high risk, especially those heavily depending on huge fixed assets and fixed expenses. So sa business na walang masyadong kapital at walang masyadong fixed expenses, medyo madali kumita. Katulad ng yung nagba-buy and sell lang ng damit, buy and sell ng mga commodities and all, ano yung medyo mas mataas na risk? Yung bumili ka na ng planta, bumili ka ng equipment. Katulad ngayon, I have one client. Nagpatayo siya ng 400 square meter office and production site somewhere in Las Piñas. Kakagawa lang, guys. Na-turn over sa kanya yung building at saka yung factory ng March 1. Lahat ng gamit niya bago. Ang business nila is advertising. Sila yung nag-iimprenta ng mga tarpaulin, ng mga logos. Ang customer nila ABS-CBN. So, nagsabay-sabay na. Nawala si ABS-CBN at na-pandemic sila. So, yung mga ganon. Knowledge, you have to have deep knowledge of your business and the venture you wanted to take for it to earn profit. So, normally may magtatanong, ano pong the best business na pwede? So, the answer is something that you are really interested to, you are good at, you have knowledge. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng business kaya nating pasukan. Like for example, ano yung malaking kita? PBA player. Yung mga basketball player, malaki kita nila, nasa 300, may millions pa dun per month. Pero alam nga naman sabihin ko kay Daniel, mag-PBA ka kasi malaki daw yung kitaan doon.
Pwede.
Pwede. Kung gugustuhin mo lang. Kaya lang, it requires a certain skill, right?
Wala tayong height.
Wala ka rin katawan, be. Pag nabunggo ka, bagsak na. So, di ba? Pag nabangga ka ng mga import, wala na, laglag na. So, others, there are a lot of other investment opportunities. You can be a venture capitalist. Yan yung mga nag-i-invest sa mga bagong businesses. You can do Bitcoin. You can do forex trading. Pero itong dalawa, hindi pa siya regulated sa Philippines. You can have options. You can hedge funds. You can exchange traded funds. You can buy tainted assets. You can go into real estate investment trust funds, and there are a lot more. So, hindi natin alam kung magkano yung capital dyan, time, profit, and risk. You can do it your own for you to have knowledge or hire an expert to give you an idea. So, the message is, ang dami ng investment opportunities. Question is, why are you not investing? So, dun tayo sa mas simple. So, yung mga diniscuss ko kanina, medyo high-end na siya ng konti. Ibig sabihin, kailangan na ng medyo mas malaking kapital. Pero if you are new to investment, if you're going to search on Google also, if you're going to search on Google also, pag tinype mo yung investments, normally, ang kakopol niyan is stocks or bonds. So, which is your main topic natin for tonight. So, si bonds, ito yung mga pautang sa government, sa company. When you buy a bond, you're lending money to a company or governmental entity such as a city, a state, or a nation. So, pag kailangan ng pondo ng government, mag-i-issue yan sila ng bonds. So, it's either publicly traded or to a specific platform lang nila ibebenta. If you are a holder of bond, you are actually earning through interest, kung magkano man yung interest na nandun, and actually, minamark to market din si bonds. And therefore, nagbabago-bago din yung fair market value niya. So, kung ang fair market value na ngayon is 1,000, tapos bukas naging 1,500, you also earn a paper gain of 500 pesos for each type of bond na hawak mo. So, dalawa. You earn through interest and you earn through appraisal of the worth of the bonds. So, sa stocks naman, companies sell shares of stocks to raise money for a startup or growth. So, yung mga nag-IPO, yung initial public offering, yung mag-go public na sila. So, ibebenta na nila sa public yung stocks nila. So, it's either para mag-expand or para maka-raise ng funds. When you invest in stocks, as an investor, you're buying a share of ownership in a corporation. You are a shareholder. And if you are a shareholder, you are a part owner. If you are a part owner, kapag kumita yung company na yon, somehow, kumikita ka din. Although, indirectly, hindi ka maapektuhan nung nag-income sila agad. Saan yung personal growth or personal income mo papasok? Number one, nag-i-increase yung price ng stock. Normally, the increase in price of stock is dependent kung kumikita si company. Mamaya may specific slide ako dyan. So, it's really important na yung pinag-i-investan mo na company, kumikita. Because as an investor, you are buying the idea that the company is going to earn. That is the reason why gusto mong makisali dun sa business na yun. Tama? Pag meron ka bang friend na nagyaya sa'yo na mag-business, tapos, historically, lagi siyang lugi, sasali ka sa kanya, Daniel, sasali ka ba? Pag historically, yung friend mo na yung, kahit na super close kayo, historically, lagi siyang lugi. So sabi, sasali ka.
Siyempre, gagamit kahit sobrang close mo siya, kung alam mo namang malulugi, hindi ka na magjo-join doon kasi sabi nga nila, history repeats itself, di ba?
Pwede. Paano naman kung tiwalang-tiwala ka, mataas yung tingin mo, tapos historically, lagi na din kumikita yung company. Tapos ang sabi niya, Daniel, kailangan ko mag-expand. Gusto mo ba maging partner ko? Gusto mo bang mag-join sa business ko? Mag-join ka ba?
Oo naman.
So yun, parang ganun din yung ginagawa natin when we buy a stocks in a stock market. Our initial checking is, kumikita ba itong company na to? Because if it is, and reliable yung company, like BDO yan, BPI, malalaking company, SM yan, so I would want to take part of their earnings. So, our two main sources of income for stocks is increase in price tax. Kasi kapag kumikita yon, yung company na yun, tumataas yung value niya. And therefore, nag-a-appraise yung value ng hawak mo na shares. And then number 2, nag-i-issue din sila ng dividends. Questions? Yeah. So kami, hindi ako super expert trader. But we are always updated by experts on the company. Like sa Sun Life. So si Sir Mike Manuel, sinama ko siya sa slide ko because he is the head of our investment team. And siya talaga yung nagtitrade 24/7. So pag nagkukwento yan siya, gigising yan ng alas 2, magtitrade na siya. Alas 5, mag-workout. Tapos babalik siya alas 6, kakain lang, magtitrade ulit siya. Alas 10, magmi-meeting. 11, magtitrade ulit siya. Alas 4, magbe-break. Alas 5, magtitrade ulit. Diba? So parang 24 hours sila yung investment team. And as a financial advisors in Sun Life, they equip us with the needed updates and learnings para malaman din namin somehow kung paano yung nagiging gut feel ng company as a whole. So, when you guys invest in Sun Life, we don't manage the fund personally. But we help oversee your investment para ma-make sure namin na yung goals mo at saka kung nasa ng investment mo and risk appetite mo, align kami sa inyo. So, giving you some updates, this is run last June 25. Ito yung stock market prices natin. So, these companies I presented here is actually our PSEI. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Philippine Stock Equity Index. So, pag pumunta ka ng ibang bansa, we are measured with a single stock. They view us as PSEI. So, yun na yung Philippines. Ibig sabihin, these companies are our representative companies. Okay? So, sila din yung tinitingnan natin ng market performance natin as a whole. Kasi normally, whatever their movements are, is the movement of the entire stock market of the Philippines. So, yun. If you want to learn the basics of stocks and stock market, check first the PSEI. So, dyan tayo mag-umpisa. Sila yung representative market ng Philippines. So, if you're going to check each one of them, we ended at 6.1. Last Friday, we're still at that level almost. Pero nag-all-time high na tayo na 6.9. Para sa mga hindi naman babad sa stock market and walang masyadong background around the stocks, I'll give you an idea of what I'm trying to drive at. Before the pandemic, the price of the stock market is at 8,400 to 8,500. Anong ibig sabihin nun? Kung bibili ako ng isang stocks, ang ibabayad ko is 8,400 pesos. So sabihin mo na lang yun yung presyo niya. So as an investor, anong gusto mo? Kung binili ko siya at 8,400, syempre gusto ko tumaas yung value niya. Bakit? Para pag binenta ko siya, kita ako. Tama ba? So pre-pandemic, 8,400 yung presyo niya. Why? Kasi wala naman tayong projection na down tayo eh. We are in a trajectory na pataas. So, kahit 8.4 na yon, it seems right now na ang taas nun kasi nasa 6.1 tayo. Maraming nag-i-invest nung time na yun. So, yung mga nag-invest ng 8.4, kung ang presyo ngayon ng PSEI is 6.1, kumita ba sila or nalugi? Daniel, kumita sila or nalugi?
Kailan sila nag-invest?
8.4 yun dati.
Nalugi sila ngayon kung 8.4 yun dati.
Sabihin natin nag-invest sila ng March 1. March 1. So wala pang announcement dun sa Pilipinas ng mga chinanalin. So 6.1 na yon. Lugi ba sila or kumita sila?
Nalugi sila.
Nalugi sila. So bakit sila nalugi?
Kasi bumaba yung PSEI natin nanggaling siya sa 8.4, naging 6.1.
Yes.
So, yun yung naging effect.
Pero yung 6.1 ba, medyo justifiable?
Sa current situation
So
natin,
para
yes.
sa 6.1 is tamang location lang ng PSE. Kasi most of the businesses are actually not earning. Some of them are on a decline. So, itong nakikita nyo mga positive dyan, before kasi yan mag 6.1, guys, umabot na po tayo sa 4.6. So, imagine niyo yung 8.4, naging 4.6 yun. Siguro mga March 26 siguro, parang mga ganun. So, ngayon, magandang position na yung 6.1. Pero hindi pa rin sobrang taas. Kasi pre-pandemic, nasan tayo? Nasa 8.4 tayo. So, ito yung projections natin ng earnings for 2020, guys. So, banks. Tapos, tingnan nyo yung weight niya. Ibig sabihin, ganyan siya kalami. Ang pinakamalaking composition ng stock market natin are conglomerates. Sino-sino sila? Yung conglomerates sa atin ay yung Aboitiz, Ayala, DMCI, Metro Pacific, San Miguel, SM Investment. Sila yung malalaking company. And it is the view that they're going to have a negative 21 earnings this year. So, ibig sabihin, kung ang projections natin hanggang end of the year ng 2020 is negative 20, tama lang na yung stock natin is dipped din by halos 20% or so. Tama? Pero, ano yung magandang balita? Check nyo yung 2021 projections. Anong nakalagay? From negative, we are at a positive trajectory of 32. Income protection. And what does that mean? Diba ang sabi ko sa inyo kanina, we as an investor, we buy the capacity to earn of a company. Therefore, yung trajectory ng market prices of the company. And if we are assuming that we are going to hit positive 32 next year, we can also say that we have a brighter outlook of our PSEI next year. So ito yung historical basis simula 1994 ng relationship between annual return, which is income. The yellow one is the income. Yung earnings per share is yung blue one. And then yung PSEI is yung line. So kung mapapansin mo guys, sumusunod lang siya dun sa return ng companies. Kapag maganda yung projections ng return ng company, maganda din yung trajectory ng PSEI. And therefore, kung nasa negative side tayo this year, hindi ba ang gandang bumili ng mura ngayon? Why? Because there is a high possibility that when we recover next year, our dip 20% return this year would be at positive what? 20-45%. Imagine who's going to earn from that. And I urge you guys to really check on that. So, base dun sa mga sinasabi ko, parang ang ganda-ganda ng stocks. Tama. So, bibili na ba kayo ng stocks? Bakit walang nagsasalita? Nandyan pa ba kayo, guys?
Yes. Nandito pa sila.
Yes, sir.
Dahil lang para makahinga ka din saglit. So guys, naman, request sana akong virtual thumbs up para malaman ko if nandito pa kayong lahat. Tapos,
Virtual
ayan.
thumbs up.
Oh, ayan, thumbs up. Yan, very good. So, request ko lang din sana, if ever may mga tanong tayo along the way, clarifications, pwede nating itanong kay Miss Tina yon. Huwag tayong mahihiya kung gusto nating mas maintindihan yung sinasabi niya about sa PSEI, kung bakit ganun yung nangyayari, bakit nasabing kumikita, bakit sinabing nalulugi. Pwede natin siyang tanungin, guys. Mag-unmute lang kayo and then feel free to ask. So, ayun.
Or
So,
pwede rin naman sa chat, baka nahiya sila
Yes, sa
mag-unmute.
chat. Pwede sa chat.
ayun.
Or i-PM
Tama.
nyo nag-invite. Okay lang din yun. Yung sa mga nag-invite, i-PM nyo sila tapos sila na lang magtatanong. Pwede din. Or pwede din naman mag-unmute.
Oo, yun. Sige,
So,
guys.
yun. So ngayon, parang dun sa mga description ko, biruin mo negative tapos magpa-positive. Alam nyo ba, noong 2008, we are at negative 20%. Tapos next year thereafter, nag-positive 49% tayo. Ibig sabihin, yung mga pumasok ng negative 20, kumita sila ng 69% to 70%. Halos nagdoble yung fund nila. So parang ang ganda-ganda pala ng stock market, lalo na ngayon. Pero pupunta ako dun sa next slide ko. So, yes, it is good, pero it cannot be the only thing that you're looking at when you get into investments. Hindi ka lang dapat nakatingin sa returns. Laging dalawa yan. If you check on the returns, you are supposed to also check on the risk na meron siya. And therefore, for you guys, it's really important for you to have a portfolio construction. And our way is not fund selection. It should be from asset allocation. What do I mean by that? When we are trying to do financial planning kasi, the common misconception is that equity maganda daw. Sige, yan na lang pipiliin ko. Para meron kang hawak na maraming piece ng puzzle. Tapos kung sino yung pinakamaganda doon, pinakamakinang, yun na lang yung pinili mo. Without even checking kung yung piece of the puzzle ba na yun is yung right piece na magmamatch doon sa binubuo mong financial portfolio. Kumbaga, when you check on the investment opportunities that you have, you don't pick the one that is brightest. You pick the one that is more applicable for you. And the way to do that is to do asset allocation. When you do asset allocation, you're trying to check which return will help me reach my goal, but it should be within the risk tolerance profile na meron ako. Paano ko yan i-explain? So I have, let's say, a client. So yung anak niya, mag-i-school na in 3 years' time. So ang kailangan niya is a safer type of investment. And therefore, kahit na there is a high probability na malaki yung kikitain next year, kasi based on projections, dun talaga tayo papunta. Since ang timeline niya is just 3 years, and wala siyang ibang budget kung saan niya kukuhain yung pampaaral ng anak niya, kundi yung money na meron siya, hindi ko pwedeng suggest sa kanya na ilagay yun lahat sa equity. Because it could be suicide. It could be a win-win situation if mangyari lahat ng as planned, pero it could also be a suicide kung merong biglang may magbago bigla next year. Paano kung yung swine flu pala na tinitignan nila ngayon sa China ulit, mag-materialize ulit? E di, may panibago ka na naman na pandemic na dumating. Kasi based doon sa projections na yun, guys, yung kanina yung positive 32, that is in a consideration na kahit walang vaccine, doon na tayo papunta. Kasi eventually, economy will ease out, people will eventually adapt na magmamask lang, pero bibili pa rin, lalabas. So, that's based, yun yung trajectory nila. So, kahit walang makuhang vaccine, papunta tayo sa positive 32. Pero di ba, the risk profile of the client, hindi niya kayang i-take in yung risk na biglang bumaba. Because the timeline is too short and the need is so straightforward na kailangan niya agad and wala siyang ibang pagkukuhaan. So kahit na sobrang ganda ng stocks ngayon, hindi ko i-recommend na kumuha siya ng stocks. Pwede sabihin ko mag 10% siya ng stocks, 90% money market or just leave it in the bank. But I cannot advise that she put all her money on stocks. On the other hand, I have one client na meron talaga siyang specific fund na wala siyang pinagagamitan. He doesn't even want to spend it for the next 5 years, 6 years. And if that's the case, I suggest na ilagay nyo lahat sa equity. Why? Because the least amount of time that we need to survive a pandemic based on history, kahit yung mga pinakamalalang pandemic na meron tayo, is 6 years before makarecover totally yung economy. And therefore, kung yung 6 years na yun yung pinakamahaba, for sure, kung longer time yung kaya niyang i-take in at hindi naman niya kailangan yung funds, kikita si client kung ilalagay niya sa equity. So, it depends on the return that will help you reach your goal within the limited risk tolerance that you have. So, it's really important to check on the risk profile of the client, of yourself, bago ka mag-jump into, ito yung maganda. Hindi tayo namimili ng brightest investment opportunity. We're trying to get the perfect fit for you to help reach your goal, pero within the limits of your risk. May question ba tayo doon?
Ako, magtatanong ako, baka sakaling tanong din nila to. So, yung bang risk tolerance natin, gaano yan kadalas halos nagbabago? Or nagbabago ba siya totally, ganun?
Later, masasagot ko na ng bahagya. May ako na siya sagot.
Sige.
So, meron kasi akong slide dyan para dun sa risk tolerance.
Okay.
So, yung unang pa-preempt ko dun, di ba kanina nagpakita ako ng diagram, as you get older, your risk tolerance becomes slimmer. Because pag matanda na, normally wala ka ng time to really, kumbaga ginagamit mo na yung funds kung retirement funds mo yun. So yun, mas lumiliit yung risk tolerance mo and therefore we tend to give fixed income to those na nasa retired age na. Pero it's also case-to-case basis. Pero later sasagutin ko yan.
May isa tayong question Pwede mo na
sige.
kung kaya mo na siyang i-address ngayon.
Ano ba?
So ako nababasa from Sir RJ Nepomuceno. So ang question niya is, for now po, equity ba ang maganda mag-invest if aggressive? Tapos kapag conservative ba o money market?
Babalik ulit ako doon. Depende siya sa goal at saka sa risk appetite. Kasi even if aggressive si client, let's say, marami namang aggressive, tama? Si Jomar aggressive yan.
Oo, sobra.
Paano?
Ay, grabe.
Pero
Aggressive
if
in what
your
way?
financial portfolio is not ready for you to be aggressive, you cannot be all in equity. What do I mean by that? For example, you are an employee. Your only savings is 100,000. That's your only savings. Wala ka ng iba. Wala kang emergency fund, wala lahat. So, ang pinaggagalingan ng pang day-to-day mo is sahod mo lang. Na nanganganib pa. Kasi kunyari, pandemic. Nagre-retrench si company. So, yung tao na yun, aggressive siya. Gusto niya, sige, basta malaking kita, laban ako dyan. Kahit saan na. If I am the financial advisor of that guy, kahit na aggressive siya, I would tell him to keep his 100,000 in the bank. Why? Because his current situation calls for nailagay niya yun muna sa bank. Why? Paano kung bigla siyang mawala ng trabaho? Hindi niya kayang i-take in yung risk na nasa volatile yung pera niya. Tama? Pero on the other hand, if this guy has 1 million savings, tapos stable naman yung work, okay naman. Yung 1 million na yun, wala siyang paggagamitan. Tapos aggressive siya kasi naiintindihan niya yung risks and rewards ng equity. So pwede, baka kalahati or 75% ng asset niya palagay ko sa equity. Kung wala siyang immediate na paggagamitan. Papatirahin ko lang siya ng mga 200,000 para sa emergency fund and all. Tapos the rest papalagay ko na sa equity. So ganun siya. For the conservative type, Sir RJ, yung money market later on, hahapyawan ko siya. Which is also a good, kumbaga, lagyanan ng pera. If you really want to conserve lang yung money mo. So, yun. Okay na ba yun? Nasagot ko ba yun? Nasagot ba yun, Daniel?
For me, nasagot naman. Ayan, nag-reply din siya. Yes naman daw.
Okay, sige. So, asset allocation and its important. So, based on studies, asset allocation is extremely important. The study shows that asset allocation is a larger contributor to a portfolio's overall returns than even individual stock selection. So, pinaka-importante yung allocation mo ng funds. Yung allocation mo ng asset. Ilan yung nakalagay sa bonds, ilan yung nakalagay sa stocks, ilan yung nakalagay sa real estate, nasa asset allocation. And dapat yung asset allocation na yun, align yun dun sa specific goals na meron ka. Tatapatan mo bawat goals mo. Because your different goals has different timelines and has different risk profile and has different returns needs. So to answer partly your question kanina, Daniel, for a specific tao, hindi in general risky ka, hindi in general conservative ka. Because you have to still drill it down, anong specific investment goal mo, ano yung return na kailangan mo dyan, and ano yung risk na kaya mong i-take for that specific goals. And sabi nila, overall, yung laki ng kikitain mo over the fund is highly dependent on the asset allocation that you have. Asset allocation accounts for a whopping 88% of volatility in returns, according to Vanguard, which means that your experience will be very consistent with any other diversified investor with the same asset allocation, regardless of the specific investments you use. In other words, asset allocation matters a lot more than stock picking when it comes to reaching your financial goals. Using data from Australian managed funds, strategic asset allocation is found to account for most of the total returns in terms of magnitude and around 88% of variability in total portfolio returns. So even in putting up, di ba kasi sa stocks, pwede kang mamili ng company on your own, isa-isa. So kung paano mo siya i-combine, yun yung magiging asset allocations mo. And later on, magbibigay ako ng additional inputs of that. So, ito yung sa tanong ni Kuya RJ kanina. So, sa asset classes, nabanggit niya kasi doon yung money market, which is actually the cash and cash equivalent portions that we have. So, asset classes is stocks or equities, bonds and fixed income, cash and cash equivalent. Pababa, paliit ng paliit yung risk. Pero paliit din ng paliit yung possible returns. So for cash and cash equivalents, these are short-term government bonds. Pautang pa rin ito. Para siyang bonds, pero this time, mabilis siyang mag-mature. And dahil mas mabilis siyang mag-mature, ibig sabihin in 3 months, babayaran na yung capital, yung risk of loss mo dito maliit lang. Almost guaranteed na yung return. Based on history, kumikita to ng mga 1% to 2%. At a good year, kumita ng 4 to 5% actually for Sun Life. And we have that available as money market funds. So if your goal is so short, tapos hindi mo kayang mag-take in ng sobrang risk over the volatility of the market, I suggest you put it in cash equivalents. Why? Because you still get to earn a little bit without sacrificing liquidity and yung risk ng volatility. So, middle is yung sa bonds, fixed income. Bonds have historically had less volatility than stocks, but the trade-off is that they offer more modest returns. So, mas mababa ng konti. But there are some types of bonds that are riskier, such as junk bonds and high-yield bonds. So, ito naman yung parang trading side ng bonds. Yung mga junk bonds, ano yan guys? Yung nakikipagpustahan ka na dun sa nagpautang. Ibig sabihin, kaya siya tinawag na junk bonds. Yung, kunyari, corporation, halos palugi na. So, yung bonds na inisyo niya, may tendency na hindi mabayaran. Pero bakit tinitrade pa rin siya? Kasi binibenta ng palugi yan. And kung ako investor, nabili ko yan ng palugi, tapos nasingil ko pa rin si corporation, for example, malay mo naka-recover, kikita ako ng malaki dyan. Kaya riskier siya. Kasi may possibility na hindi ko na mabawi yung buong investment ko, pero may possibility din na makakuha ako ng malaking return kung biglang naging okay yung corporation na nag-issue ng bonds. So, that part is, saka na natin siya pag-uusapan. So, ito yung kanina pa nating dinidiscuss, stocks and equities. Historically, ito yung highest risk and returns over these three, but not all stocks are the same. Large cap stocks are less risky and small cap stocks have more risk. Ano ibig sabihin ng mga large cap stocks? Sila yung mga blue chip companies natin. Sila yung medyo stable na rin actually yung return. So bakit ka bibili ng small caps kung mas riskier yun? Actually, yung malaking return kasi minsan nakukuha mo rin sa small cap. Why? Kasi dahil stable na nga yung large cap, yung increase niyan 1%, 2%, 3%, tapos mag-accumulate ng 10%. Yung sa mga small cap guys, bigla yan nagti-300, nagto-200%. Pero may possibility din na mabilis siyang malugi. So, pros and cons. Kaya nga, it's very important na alam mo yung asset allocations. So ngayon, may question ba kayo doon? Kasi bibigyan ko kayo ng idea kung ano yung historical income ng mga VUL bonds natin. So, hindi ko pa pinapakilala kung ano yung VUL. Later ko siya i-discuss. So, for now, sufficing to know that these are the actual return of the funds para dun sa mga investors na ni Sun Life, na mga nandito sa forum na to. So, kung meron kayong VUL plan with your advisors, and you put some of it in bonds, some of it in equity, this is your actual earning, and I'm going to discuss it if you don't have questions.
So yun guys, wala ba tayong questions para at least kung may questions tayo, ma-address na agad natin ngayon. Para if may mga agam-agam tayo. Actually, kahit hindi sobrang related dun sa specific na dinidiscuss ni ni Miss Tina, kung ano yung naisip niyong question niyo about investments, pwede niyo lang yung iba to. Kung may gusto kayong mga hinging tips, pwede niyo rin yung tanong sa kanya guys. Huwag kayong mahihiya. Para sulit din naman yung ano nyo, di ba? 2 hours. At least, bukod sa may narinig na kayo, kapag may hindi pa clear sa inyo, di nasagot din yung mga questions sa mga isip niya. Okay? So, yun. Basta if ever, pwede kayong mag-unmute. Pwede nyo ilagay sa chat box yung mga tanong nyo. And then, kung nahihiya talaga kayo, pwede nyo namang i-message yung nag-invite sa inyo para sila na lang yung mag-raise out ng question. Okay ba yun? So, thumbs up naman if clear na yung naging instructions natin, guys. Ayan, hindi ko pa nakikita nagta-thumbs up yung ba. Ayan, sige, please thumbs up tayo, guys. So,
thank you
ayan.
po sa mga pa-thumbs up. Malaking bagay po yan para po hindi po tayo maubusan ng hininga.
Correct.
So, yan. So, ito yung average return. Anong ibig sabihin ng mga periods dito sa gilid? So, 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 15. So, kumbaga si Sun Life, ini-study niya. Yung nag-invest ng 1 year, magkano yung kinita? Best possible scenario, worst possible scenario, and on the average. So, paano kung 1 year lang ako na nag-invest? Ano yung average na kinita ko sa bonds? Kung sa bonds ako naglagay ng pera. So, kung ito, April 25, ang ka-comparative niyan, April 25, 2013, kasi 1 year. So, on average, ang kinita ng bond fund na 1 year is 5%, guys. Best possible scenario, nag-invest ng April 25, 2012, nag-out ng April 26, 2012, ang kinita niya 25.3%. Wow, possible pala yun. Yes.
Okay lang sa'yo, mag-ano muna tayo, mag-entertain muna tayo. May dalawa tayong questions dito.
Sure.
So, kanina para rin sa benefit ng iba kasi si Sir Francis daw kanina, hindi niya masyadong nakuha yung sa retirement fund, yung pagka-compute. Okay lang bang i-recap natin ng konti para rin doon sa benefit ng iba na at least ma-refresh sila? Okay lang yon. Kahit ano lang, overview, ano lang, sobrang refresh lang.
Sige, kaya mo na bang sagutin yun, Daniel?
Sige, actually, pwede ko namang sagutin yan para at least mag-enjoy din yung iba nating kasama. i-ano ko na lang, i-volunteer ko na si Jomar para at least
Yun.
naririnig din nila yung boses na iba nating kasama, di ba?
Actually, i-volunteer ko sana si Joshua, pero pwede na rin si Joma.
Si Jomar na lang muna para at least
Sige,
makilala
i-volunteer ko
din
rin
siya.
si Joshua. So, dalawa kay Joshua. Dalawa yung boto kay Joshua. Hindi, sige. So, sa questions, no? Tama ba din yan?
Yung unang question lang, yung kumbaga i-refresh mo lang, paano ba madaling computein yung retirement fund?
Okay. So, Ma'am Tin, ano nga po ulit ang formula ng projected retirement fund? So, basically, ang idea ng retirement fund natin is kaya pansin nyo merong factor dun sa formula na raised to 0.05, di ba? Yeah, 5%. So, ang pinaka-pinu-point out doon is yung anong term natin dito? Inflation rate.
Time value of money.
Yes, the time value of money. Kumbaga ang idea, kaya merong naka-raise sa 0.05. 0.05 is definitely yung inflation rate na dapat na nilalabanan ng pera natin. So yung formula is 1.05 raised to number of years kung kailan tayo planong mag-retire. Say for example, ako, I'm planning to retire at age 40. Ano na ako ngayon 21 years old. Tama ba? Ba't ka tumawa, Daniel?
Kasi naalala ko isang taon pala yung tanda mo sa akin.
Ay, ilan taon na ba?
20.
Oh, yun, sakto. So, 21 years old ako. So, I have 19 years pa, para mag-ipon. So yun yung idea niya. 1.05 raised to 19 years. Then, i-multiply ko yun sa salary ko ngayon, sa current salary ko. If that's sustainable. Pero if you are planning na, halimbawa ako, ang salary ko kunyari ngayon is 30,000 monthly. For me, hindi yun sustainable. So parang ang idea niya lang, ano yung certain amount na tingin mong sustainable sa'yo? So for example, 100K yung gusto ko pag nag-retire ako. So ang idea lang ng pag-compute ng retirement fund, dadalhin mo lang siya sa time na magre-retire ka. So doon na nag-act yung portion ng 0.05. Pero basically, ang pinakasagot sa tanong niya is 1.05 raised to time bago ka mag-retire times salary. Where time is expected retirement age minus current age. Ayun. Alright.
Ayun, thank you, engineer. So, I hope, Sir Francis, nasagot yung tanong mo. And then, dun sa mga iba, kung hindi rin naging clear sa kanila, ayan, at least na-refresh. Tapos, siguro, sagutin din naman natin yung next question. So, basahin ko na to, no? So, ang question niya is, if someone invested or bought stocks from the market, and then suddenly, the stock value keeps on decreasing every day, what's the most advisable thing to do? Pull out or sell or continue your investment?
So yan. Diyan na lalabas yung sagot natin na it depends. Actually, maraming pwedeng gawin kung bumababa siya or tumataas siya at a specific time. Babalik ka ulit dun sa risk appetite mo, sa capital na meron ka pa, at saka dun sa basics. Kung nakikita mo na yung decline na yon is just brought about by concerns that are temporary. Alam nyo guys, nag-trade ako nitong pandemic So, naging official trader po tayo, charot. So,
wow.
kung na bumababa yung stocks, pag alam mo yung basics mo and naiintindihan mo yung galaw nung stocks, number one tendency is for you to buy some more. Buy some more, buy some more. Hanggang sa wala ka ng capital. If you can take the risk, you know the fundamentals, you check on the possibilities of return, and you're still willing to take that add-on risk, type 1 of investor will buy some more. Bakit? For example, yung PSEI, invested ka at 8.4, bumaba siya at 4.6, bumili ako at 4.6, ngayon nasa 6.1 na siya. So yung binili ko at 4.6, kumita na yon. Kung nalugi man yung 8.4 ko, okay lang, mag-average yun. So some investors actually, na yun talagang nakababad sa stock market, first thing they do is to buy some more pag bumaba pa lalo yung market. So, pwedeng ganon. Hanggang sa maubos yung PC mo. So, kaya siya, numbers game din siya. yung medyo mas malalaming kapital, mas malaki yung possibility na sila yung nagiging. So, hindi ko ina-advise guys talaga kung wala kayong time to really aralin siya na kayo mismo yung magte-trade. So, later on, sasabihin natin yun sa DIY. So, ano pa yung pwede mong gawin? Call to action mo. Number 2, kung feeling mo sa goal mo, nagbago yung environment mo and all, you have to cut your loss. Katulad ng ABS-CBN stocks. So, I own an ABS-CBN stocks. I bought it at 16 pesos. So, after na sinabi na wala na siyang pag-asa, bumaba siya at 14 pesos lang naman. So, minsan baka may hope pa na biglang tumaas. Pero at some point, you have to cut your losses. I'm not already, hindi na ako willing to take an additional risk and therefore I'm going to let it go. So, minsan kailangan mo ring malaman kung talo ka na ba. At kailangan mo na mag-cash out. So, pwede din ganon. Number 3 is pwedeng stay mo lang. Why? Because maybe it's just a temporary decline. Katulad ni Jollibee. Si Jollibee is really volatile. Nag-90 siya, tapos nag-137, nag-145, bumaba ulit ng 120. So, para saan ba yung investment na binili mo? Is it long-term ba? Kasi if it's long-term, then stick with it. Kasi before mo naman binili yung stocks na yun, dapat dun mo chinek yung fundamentals. Long-term ba kikita ito? And therefore, kung long-term yung designation ko sa kanya, temporary decline doesn't matter to me. So, when you do your planning and you do your asset allocation, make sure that you really think about it and then stick with it. But syempre, you also have to revisit. Baka may mga nagbago. Like yun nga, kung meron kang hawak na ABS-CBN, pwede nyo na siya ibenta. Kasi most likely, magdadrop yun eh. May cap lang sila ngayon kaya wala pang major sellers eh. Pero eventually, pag tinanggal yung cap, kasi hindi pwede na bigla mong ibenta lahat. Magugulo yung stock market. May mga daily limits lang kung ilan yung pwedeng ibenta. So, nasagot ko ba yun?
For me, nasagot mo naman kasi kung ako bilang financial advisor, actually yun din ang isasagot ko eh. Hindi naman kasi natin talaga pwedeng sabihin na, yes, ibenta na natin, yes, bumili pa tayo. So nakadepende talaga yun sa objective natin eh. So ayun guys, share ko lang din sa inyo. Meron din ako investment sa stock market. So kahit yun, di ba, medyo na itong pandemic, medyo nalulugi siya. So, anong naging decision ko? Kasi ang objective ko dun sa iba kong investment sa stock market, long-term ko siya. So, kahit hindi siya kumikita pa, in-stay ko siya doon. Kasi ang objective ko, long-term investments yung stocks ko. So, kahit medyo decreasing siya, so okay lang sa akin yun. Kasi yung nag-focus ako doon sa main objective ko. So, pagdating dito, doon natin malalaman na, ay okay, ito pala yung objective ko. So, ito yung dapat kong gawin sa investments ko. So I hope medyo nakadagdag yun dun sa explanation ni Ms. Tina. So ito naman, isang question, tas pwede na tayong mag-proceed. Lahat ba ng asset classes ino-offer ni Sun Life?
Ino-offer po ni Sun Life lahat ng equities, bonds, fixed income, money market. Ang hindi namin ino-offer yung properties, yung mga nauna kong diniscuss. So ito lahat na to, meron yan si Sun Life.
Ayun, thank you. Ayun, nasagot naman siguro yung mga questions. So, if ever guys, ayan, maganda at least interactive tayo, may mga questions pa kayo, feel free to ask. So, feeling ko, ayan, mas madali sa inyo, ilagay nyo na lang dito sa message box or sa chat box para makita din ng lahat. So, ayun, pwede tayo mag-proceed.
Ayan. So, eto. So, yung mga nag-invest na bonds, 1 year, 5% ang average, best case 25, ang worst case negative 9%. So on average 73% ng client in 1 year's time positive yung kinita. So bakit importante yun? Ibig sabihin, yung risk ko pala dyan, baka mapasama ako doon sa 16% na hindi kumita. Gets mo? Hanggang negative 9. So second year naman. Second year, on average, 4.3 kinita. The best na nangyari is kumita ng 13.5%. Ang worst na nangyari is negative 3.8. Pero this time, mas mataas naman yung upside. 80% yung kumita, 20% na lang yung nalugi. So on the 5th year, ganun ulit, 4%, 10.9 yung the best, negative 2.5 naman yung worst, pero this time, 89% na yung positive. So, the longer you have, kaya nga 'di ba, sinasabi natin, component din yung time. Kasi like for example, ito, kung 7 years and above ka na nag-invest sa bonds, there is no way na hindi ka kumita. Kasi 100% lahat sila kumita. Ang question na lang, malas ka ba o swerte ka?
Kung
Oo.
gano'n na lang kalaki yung kinita. Pero sure nakikita
Yes.
na after 7 years halos.
Yes. So, yun. Actually, halos sure din naman sa iba. Kaya lang may downside kasi may percentile na pangit talaga yung pagpasok, negative yung naging return nila. So, that's the risk that you have to take in. For the BUL naman, higher returns, of course. 1 year, positive natin, average is 11. Pinakabongga po, 106% yung kinita. Pinakamalas naman, negative, 44%. Ang nakakumita sa atin is 68% of the time. Kumikita tayo. Second year, 9.9 ang average, 35.2 yung the best. Negative natin is negative 13. 87% of the time, clients gain. 5 years, 11.2 yung average, 25.9 yung the best, negative 10 yung worst, 95% of the time kumikita na si client. 7 years, 96% of the time, 10 years, 100% always kumikita na sila. Question na lang, average ka ba na 10.4? The best ka ba na 15.7? Or kawawa ka na 2.8? So, ganun siya. It's always a combination of what type of investment fund, the timing and the time that you have, and then your ability to take in the risk. Kasi kung ako, for example, siguro hindi ako willing na malugi ng negative 44. So, and therefore, if hindi ako willing na malugi ng negative 44, baka hindi ko ilagay 100% sa investment. Even if the possibility is kumita ako ng average na 11.6 and as much as 106. So, baka hindi ako risky type of investor in that sense. Pero for example, itong 10 years, feeling ko, willing na ako i-forgo yung 10% na negative decline if there is a possibility if I'm going to earn 25% and on an average of 11.2% and 95% of the time kumikita yung client. This time, if my horizon is 5 years, I'm willing to take in the risk of equity. And therefore, I might consider having 100% of my fund that I'm going to use after 5 years in equity funds. So, nakita mo yung diferensya nun. Diba? Kaya ko bang isugal? Kung 1 year lang yung timeline ko, katulad nung sinabi kong client, ang ganda ng stock market ngayon, guys, pwede na kayo mag-enter. Kailangan niya next year eh. Willing ba siya i-take in yung possibility na malugi yun by half? Kung hindi ko isasuggest yung equity. Kasi I myself, parang ayokong makipag-gamble doon na may possibility siya malugi ng almost half. Pero kung 5 years, malulugi daw ng 10%, pero may possibility na kumita ako ng 26%. Tapos 95% of the time, kumikita naman. Sige, feeling ko okay na sa akin. Even if may risk pa rin. So these are the downsides and the intricacies of financial planning. Na I know when we do financial planning with our client na hindi sila ready makita. Pero at the back of your mind, you have to take into consideration this type of risk. Tapos si Sun Life, may ganyan kaming data, guys. So when we give you recommendation, it is based on the knowledge of these things. So we don't necessarily discuss everything with you, but we know for a fact na ito yung kailangan mo. Kaya ayan yung nirecommend namin. So anong ibig sabihin nitong portion na to? Dito pinapakita, like for example, kung conservative ako, dito ako, kung pure bonds ako, yan. May possibility na negative 9.4 yung hindi ako kikita. Kasi di ba yun yung possibility na negative yung kitain mo. Pero most of the time, yun yung yellow, kumikita naman siya. The further you go to the right, lumalaki yung possibility na nalulugi ka na. So, the question is, are you willing to take in that risk? Ito yung 1-year return. Ito, ginawa lang siyang graph. Itong 1 year, guys. So, ginawa lang siyang graph. So, nung ginawa siyang graph, gusto mo ba pure bonds? Ganyan yung possible kitaan? O gusto mo mag-shift ng konti na 20% bond, 30% equity na? So, ganyan naman yung magiging itsura. Hanggang sa pumunta ka dun sa pinaka-extremes na 100% equity. Yung 100% equity, natakpan lang pero nasa 80%, yung 106% yung kinita niya na the best. Yung average is 7.4 pero negative 43 yung possible downside niya. So yun yung kanina, ginawa lang table. So parang pinakita, paano ba nag-allocate ng funds? Bakit minsan yung sinasuggest namin 30% bonds, 20%, 70% equity? Bakit minsan sinasabi namin 50-50? Bakit minsan ang binibigay namin balance? So there is a science into that. And pinag-aaralan namin yun as a financial advisor. But if you want to know the intricacies of that, this is that. This is the science behind. So ito yung sa question mo kanina, Damien. Sabi mo kanina, isa ko pang sagot is, ayan, nakikita mo ba tong glide? Yung glide path. So yung glide path na yan, sinasabi, as you grow closer to your retirement age, the lesser volatility you can take in. So, in general to, kahit sa Philippines, ganyan din lagi. And this is the ultimate, kumbaga guide also that we use in giving client advices on what type of investment to take in. So, habang lumalapit ka sa retirement age mo, panipis ng paminipis yung napupunta sa bond, ay sa equity. And that is also true sa international stocks, sa nominal bonds yun. So, palaki ng palaking allocations mo sa mga fixed paying type of investments like bonds, like treasury bills. So, yan. Questions, guys, before I discuss the different ways on how to be on stock market.
Guys, any questions ba? Meron ba tayong questions? So, ayun. Feeling ko wala pa silang questions. Mamaya guys, pala introduce ko lang sa inyo. Magkakaroon tayo ng breakout session. Saglit lang naman siya. Para at least kung nahiya kayo mag-open ng questions nyo sa malaking group, pwede nyo siyang i-open mamaya and then mas makapag-share. Malay nyo, may sarili rin pala kayong sharing sa group na gusto nyong i-share mamaya. At least nakatulong din kayo sa iba nating kasamang attendees. So ayun guys, huwag kayong mahihiyang magtanong. And then, alam nyo naman, sabi nga, huwag mahihiyang magtanong dahil mas lamang ang nagtatanungan, 'di ba? Normally ganun.
Kala ko right med.
Muntik na nga kaso baka sabihin, endorser pala to ng Right Med.
Sorry.
Sponsor po sila ng team namin.
Naalala ko, hindi pala tayo binigyan ng sponsorship kahit hindi ko tinuloy.
Hindi nila inano eh.
Hindi tinuloy eh. Sayang. Ayan, proceed na ulit tayo.
Ayan. What are the different ways on how to buy stocks in the stock market? So yung number 1, kung sa travel, merong do it your own. Sa stocks, meron din. So pwede mo siyang gawin on your own. You just have to enter these different platforms. Actually, recently lang yan eh. Dati, before you get to buy a certain stocks, you have to hire a broker. Yung broker, ang trabaho nila is to really buy stocks sa merkado. Tapos dati yung stocks, meron yung certificate. Kasi nung college kami, ganun yung discussion ng teacher namin, tapos stockholder siya. So pero this recent years, siguro mga 6-7 years ago or a decade ago, in-introduce na yung mga online platforms. So sila na ngayon yung broker mo, online broker sila. So si First Metrosec, si Call Financial, CoinsPro, yan yung mga sikat. So ako personally, I have experience with Call Financial, siya yung ginagamit ko. And most of my friends are in First Metrosec. So yan, pwede kayong mag-register dyan, tapos may mga gagawin sila para makakuha kayo ng account. To open an account, sobrang mura lang ata, I think 5,000 pwede na. Pero guys, if you're going to do it your own and you only have 5,000, I really suggest wag na. Why? Kasi wala kang masyadong mabibiling na stocks. Tapos, pag nalulugi, hindi ka makakabili, hindi ka makakabawi. So, mahirap kumita kapag ka yung do-it-your-own ka, tapos sobrang liit ng investment amount. At least 100,000 kung gusto mong do-it-your-own. Pero dapat yung 100,000 na yun, tapos paglalaruan mo lang, dapat willing ka na mawala siya. Kasi there is a possibility na mga lahati yun, mag 30%. So, yun. But, ang maganda kasi pag do-it-your-own, guys, para ka nagsusugal. So, ang saya. So, ayan, basta masaya siya.
Masaya ba magsugal?
Totoo yan. May mga friends ako dito na
Hindi kami nagsusugal eh.
Saan ba yun? Beshi ko, nakita ko si Brian kanina eh. Si Master ko yun eh.
Last si Jomar sa poker eh.
Uy, hindi ako nagsusugal.
So yun, talagang gamble siya, lalo na kung wala kang alam masyado doon. Pag nakita mo, ABS-CBN, sikat yan, bilhin ko na yan. BDO, sikat yan, bilhin ko na yan. Wala kang masyadong fundamentals. Feeling ko ikaw yung laging malulugi. Kasi stock market is a win or lose platform. Kung merong nag-gain, merong naglo-lose kasi may nagbebenta ng palugi eh. At may nakakabili at a gain, di ba? So win or lose yan. Yan, tama, dasal-dasal ka dito. Pag nandiyan ka sa platform niya. Pero, malaki din talaga yung possibility of return. Lalo na kunyari, may mga nag-IPO nung nakaraan, binenta ng piso, kinabukasan, 3 na, 300% return yun. Pero syempre, paano mo malalaman na magte-300% siya? Yun yung tanong. So, pero masaya. Kung gusto niyo i-try siya, yan, Paul Financial, maganda yun siya. Next is, pwede nyo siyang i-enter into a mutual funds. So, mutual funds is a pure investment vehicle. So, instead na ikaw yung bibili mag-i-stock picking and all, ipapaabaya mo na siya sa expert kung wala ka rin naman talagang time para bumili on your own. And alam nyo guys, after 3 months of doing my own stock trading, kinuha ko na ulit siguro mga 80% of the fund I log into Paul Financial and I put it on my mutual funds again. Why? Kasi nung nag-compute ako, parang hindi naman ako masyadong kumita. Tapos, kasi bawat transaction, lagi akong gain. Kasi before ako magbenta, nasa 20%, 15% na gain. Pero nung nag-account ako, kinumpute ko yung kinita ko, hindi siya masyadong malaki. Parang mga nasa 3%, 5% lang. Why? Kasi bawat transaction mo, buy and sell mo, may bayad siya eh. So, instead of me doing that one time pa isa-isa pa unti-unti, if I put it in a mutual fund, na malaking funds yung hinahandle nung broker or for example ni Sun Life, actually yung cost mas maliit. And sobrang mura lang naman to enter into a mutual fund. 1,000 pesos makaka-open ka na niyan. Tapos minsan wala pang charge. So, talk to your advisors kung ano yung details din ng mutual funds. So, mutual funds are operated by professional money managers who allocate the funds, assets, and attempt to produce capital gains or income for the fund investor. A mutual funds portfolio is structured and maintained to match the investment objective stated in its prospectus. Question sa mutual fund at sa DIY. So, wala. So, yung third way kung paano makapasok into stock is to get a VUL fund. So, VUL has become the most popular insurance fund in the past decade. In simple terms, VUL is a product plan. VUL is a financial product that offers the best of both worlds, guaranteed insurance benefit and fund accumulation. So, it's a combination of what? Of insurance and the investment. Yung investment side, binibili yun ng stocks, ng bonds, and ng money market. So that's also one way on how to get into the stock market. And I'm sure most of you has their own VUL funds na din. So that's a good job. Questions? So So if walang questions, so I'm going to get into this financial pyramid. So the way we do our financial planning always starts with the simple guidance of this financial planning pyramid. We normally start at protection before we do build accumulation, which is the one we're discussing today, different types of investment. And then later on, we move forward to wealth transfer. Why is it important to protect the wealth? It's really important kasi build ka ng build, invest ka ng invest. Tapos pag nagkaroon ng any uncertain events in your life, sad events, sickness, accident, death, lahat ng inaccumulate mo na wealth, wala na. And therefore, dapat babalik ka sa basic. When you do a financial plan, dapat konkreto siya. Hindi yung kapag may sakuna, babagsak. Tama ba yun, engineer? Di ba pagka gumagawa kayo ng building, yung pundasyon, ginagastosan ng malaki?
Mechanical. Pero may mga friends akong civil engineer. Very important yung foundation talaga. Say for example, talaga ang nasa plano is, say for example, 30-story na building. Talagang very crucial yung sa foundation part, yung ilalim. So definitely importante. So same with our finances. Tama ba ako? Yun yung nasa perspective ng mga engineers.
So, ganun din tayo. Which is why, kung wala ka pang kahit anong financial product in mind, or wala ka pang kahit anong investment vehicle, I strongly suggest you start with BUL. Why? Kasi naprotektahan mo na yung sarili mo against certain odds, nakapasok ka pa sa investment opportunity, and that is one good way to start. So, yun. So, in summary, ano yung mga different types of investment and then what are their upsides, thumbs up, and their downsides? So, for real estate, liquidity, yan yung capability mo na ibenta mo agad or maging cash siya agad, wala siya nun. So, yun yung medyo wala sa kanya. Malaking rate of return, thumbs up. Low risk, pag business, hindi siya. Real estate, medyo low risk siya. Kasi hindi naman volatile ang real estate eh. Normally, ang trend niya pataas. Normally, wag lang mababaha. At malalagay sa fault line. So, yeah. So, ito din, yung sa banks yan. Screenshot nyo na lang to. Hindi ko na siya iisa-isahin. That's your personal guide. So, sa variable universal life, may liquidity ka kasi may investment, may rate of return, low risk, professionally managed, may insurance protection, may estate tax advantage. Kasi, free siya of charge. Wala siyang tax. Lalo na kung irrevocable yung beneficiary. With tax, okay siya sa liquidity, okay siya sa rate of return, kaya lang hindi siya low risk. Hindi rin siya professionally managed, kasi ikaw nga nagdi-DIY, wala siyang insurance protection and wala siyang estate tax. Yung ITF, para lang din siyang mutual funds. Pero iba yung nag-oversee sa kanya. Yan yung normally in-offer ng banks. Unified Investment Trust Fund. Pareho lang sila ng concept pero si BSP yung nagmo-monitor sa kanila. So professionally managed sila, low risk, okay sa rate of return, okay din sa liquidity. Bonds is the same. Sa banks naman, ang nawala lang actually is yung rate of return. Pero may insurance protection sila kasi covered sila with PDIC for the first 500,000. So, yun. May question ba tayo dyan?
So far, wala pa namang naglalagay uli sa chat box.
So, yan. So, ano yung kailangan mong gawin to start? So, mamaya, pagtapos ng session natin and you get to meet with your financial advisor, number one for you to check on is your budget. Ang number one na kailangan mangyari sa cash flow mo, yung income mo tsaka yung expenses mo, dapat may natitira doon. Dapat may nasisave ka on a monthly basis. Kasi kung wala kang nasisave, wala na tayong ibang pag-uusapan. Ang sasabihin ko sa'yo, ayusin mo muna yung budgeting mo. Kasi kung hindi ka nakakapag-save, hindi ka makakapag-invest. So ano yung difference ng savings and investing? Ang pinagkaiba lang nila time and the possibility of earning. Because saving, you're just securing the money. When investing, you're putting it into a vehicle to make it grow. The fundamental is, before you can get to have an investment, you must know how to save first. Yes, Tim.
Ayun, may isa pala tayong question dito, UM. So, ang sabi dito sa chat is, do you have any experience or review with BDO Nomura? So, dun sa isa nating stocks platform.
Hindi ako sigurado pero I heard
Ako
since
may
malaking
experience.
ha?
Ayan, si
Sino?
Romar.
Gosh.
Yes, kasi personally may ano rin ako, may account din ako sa BDO Nomura. So sa BDO Nomura, in terms of user interface, medyo hindi ko siya gusto kasi madalas siyang naglalag. Minsan hindi ka naka-receive ng OTP. And in terms of function, Call Financials versus BDO Nomura, ang limited yung stocks na nakalist kay BDO Nomura. So meron mga stocks doon na gusto kong bilhin pero wala siya sa BDO Nomura. Nakikita ko siya sa call. So that's why pagdating sa wide range of stocks na pwedeng bilhin, call ako. Ngayon, the only advantage ni BDO Nomura when I created an account sa BDO Nomura, it's walang hassle sa pag-create ng account. Kasi if you have a BDO account, wala na masyadong hihingiin for registration. Wala nang know your customer process. Minsan, ibig sabihin, hindi mo na kailangan i-verify yung identity mo kasi lahat na ng details na kay BDO na. The time na nag-create ka ng account mo kay BDO, ng savings account mo, masisync na rin nun yung details mo kay BDO Nomura. Yun nga lang, another thing is hindi ka pwede mag-day trading. What do I mean by day trading? Yun yung kapag bumili ka ng stock ngayon, the same day ibebenta mo din. Konting fluctuations or konting increase ng currency or ng stock, ibebenta mo. For the sake na makakuha ka agad ng gain in the fastest way. Bakit hindi ka pwede magganon kay BDO Nomura? May lag kasi dun sa system nila. Sometimes gusto mong ibenta yung stock mo at after a 20 cents increase. Pag enter mo ng order mo, nagbago yung price. So yung konting lag na yon, nagbabago yung hindi mo nakukuha yung gusto mong pricing dun sa stock on the time na gusto mo siyang i-buy or sell. Yun yung downside ko. And ever since si Call Financials, nagkaroon na rin ng online registration, meaning pwede ka na rin maggawa ng account kay Call Financial through online. Kasi before, kailangan mo mag-submit ng documents in paper form. Ngayon kay Call Financials, kahit online na, pwede ka na rin mag-register. So, nag-switch na ako kay Call Financials. I think ang gagawin mo na lang kay Call Financial is to verify further your identity. Yun na lang yung difference kasi kay BDO wala nang ganun.
Okay, yun pala yun, Josh. So, yun, Josh, maraming salamat. So, I hope Sir Jemwell nasagot. Si kanino ba tong tanong? Basta yun sa friend ni Jomar to.
Kaya niyan, kay Dayan Imperial.
Ayun, Dayan, I hope nasagot ni Josh yung sagot
Thank you
mo.
daw, Joshua. Thank you.
Bago siguro tayo mag-breakout room, sagutin ko na muna itong isang tanong na ilan ang possible ROI sa VUL? So babalik tayo dun sa discussion kanina. Nakadepende siya sa fund na pipiliin natin. Kasi si VUL, kung matatandaan mo, marami tayong types of investments. Meron tayong bonds, meron tayong equities, meron tayong index funds. So nakadepende siya dun sa historical performance ng bonds. Pero kung gusto mong malaman yung range, so ang range yun is 5% upwards. Yun yung kadalasan at nakadepende nga siya sa risk appetite natin. So ayun, kumbaga if you will be able to talk to your financial advisor, madidiscuss din naman niya sa'yo kung ano yung percentage ng pwede natin maging ROI. So ayun, UM.
Sa equity, actually, merong time na kumita si equity ng 50%. Yun yung pinakamalaki. 89 pala, may 89% din. So, on average, pag tinignan nyo sa proposal ng bawat BUL, papakita niya yung historical returns. On average, nasa 10% yung equity, nasa 9% yung balance fund, which is combination of bonds and equity. Yung bonds naman nasa 5%.
Ayun.
So, pinakamalaking kinita ng bonds is last year, nasa 25% yung kita nila. So, yun.
So, ayun guys, I hope, lalo na dun sa tanong ni Sir Jemel, I hope nasagot naman yung tanong mo. And then, if ever guys, may tanong kayo, proceed na tayo sa breakout session. Mas itanong nyo na lang sila sa mga kakasama nyo facilitator. So, see you guys after a bit. Ayan, mag-join na kayo guys sa breakout rooms. Confirm nyo lang, confirm nyo lang.
Parang, nabe-breakout ba? Isa-isa?
Ayan din, nagbre-breakout na sila. Kailangan lang nilang i-confirm. Ayan na, nauubos na sila.
Okay.
Tama,
Bakit sa akin hindi?
17 na lang sila.
Galing.
Ayan guys, sige, proceed na kayo dun sa breakout session. So meron pa tayong natitirang konti. Ayan. MJ, Jelvin, Sis, G, John Jules, Shenalyn. Ayan. Jelvin, join ka na. Diyan ka muna. Stay put ka lang. Doon muna ako sa breakout room ko.
Hindi ako pwedeng tumingin sa kanila.
Pwede, ikaw mamili ka kung anong gusto mo. Saan mo gusto?
Paano?
Sige, kay Joms ka na lang. Sa kanino mo gusto muna? Ako kasi host eh.
Sige. Kay, Kalamark.
Kina Mark. Okay. Wait lang ah. Ayan. Go na. So, ayun. Jason, Ryan, Angela, Sis, Jeep. Join na kayo.
We're back.
Yan. Kamusta naman mga naging breakout nyo, guys?
Ano siya, since 10 minutes lang, I tried my best to impart something to them. Kahit di na siya aligned dun sa dapat na program natin. Kasi 10 minutes lang eh. So I think it would be better kung sino yung mga nag-invite sa kanila na financial advisor, yun yung kakausap sa kanila personally kasi mas may time sila doon. So with the 10 minutes, I in-spend ko lang siya to impart something na which is very crucial but very basic para sa kanila.
Yeah, that's nice. So yung dulo natin,
I think wala pa yung marami. Konti pa lang yung bumabalik.
actually yung iba natakot yata sila. Nag-leave na sila.
Seryoso?
Feeling ko lang.
Tinakot ni Jomar. Baka nasa ano pa sila, nasa breakout room pa sila.
Oo, hindi pa nagli-leave.
Ayan na po, babalik na kami.
Ay, taray. Mahaba ng discussion ni Dave.
Mahaba yung discussion namin, inulit namin yung discussion mo eh.
Diba?
Joke
Sana
lang.
lahat.
Maraming tanong dun sa group namin.
Ah, nice.
Interactive talaga.
Sa amin din sa group namin, sobrang dami yung tanong.
Kami nag-leave sila eh.
Pero dun sa group natin, madam, win yun for me. Isa, makapag-impart ka lang ng knowledge, tapos ma-absorb nila, and if they have the means na makapagsimula sila, di ba? Sobrang win na talaga yun.
Yes.
Well, anyway,
So,
yun naman lang din yung purpose.
Ano na lang,
ng
UM,
forum
9
natin.
seconds na lang. Ayan, pabalik na lahat. So,
Bakit
siguro
naman sa
ngayon,
amin? Sa amin, 0 minute agad.
hala,
Nag-break out
25 na
na
nga lang tayo. Ayan,
Hoy, sinagot ni Jan
nagbabalikan
kanina
na
sa
tayo.
foundation.
Babalik na
Sabi niya,
sila.
kailangan daw yun. Di ba, Jan? Kasi siya yung sasalo sa lahat ng bigat ng isang structure.
34 na tayo. Meron pa
Ayan.
ba tayo naantay?
kumbaga
So, parang
yan na yun lahat, nag-leave yung iba, pero at least, siguro nahiya nga sila.
baka mali kasi yung kinlik nyo. Di ba yung live breakout, tapos may live meeting. Yung isa,
Kaso
yung live meeting.
hindi na natin sila mapapabalik eh.
Walang problema, guys. Naka-record to. So, okay lang yan. So, ituloy na natin yung discussion.
Okay, sige.
Kasi medyo overtime na tayo ng konti lang naman. And maganda yung huling gusto kong i-discuss. So, itong investment management process, yung current position, analyze yung personal worth mo, assignment nyo na to. Tapos formulate your own goals. So, yun yung assignment nyo. So, yung una is that. Ito yung investment management process. Number 1, you have to know where you are right now. Number 2, you have to know where you want to be. And then number 3 is how you're going to get there. Di ba nag-umpisa tayo, ano yung magic number mo? So kung meron ka ng magic number, ano yung options mo? And then number 3, how are you going to get there? So ang assignment nyo is analyze your current position. Alamin mo yung personal budget mo, saka personal cash flow. So ituturo to sa inyo ng financial advisors nyo. Pangalawa, formulate your goals and objectives. And then, lastly is establish available financial instruments. Again, yung mga yan, i-discuss yan sa inyo ng mga financial advisors. So to end, I'd like to encourage you guys. Kasi baka dun sa mga nag-compute kanina, naisip nila, ang layo naman, parang ayaw ko. So recently, we attended a seminar in training. So mostly it's a study of how the wealthy people manage their finances. So Rich Habits was researched and written over 5 years by best-selling author, speaker, and chartered financial planner Tom Corey. In the study, 233 wealthy individuals were interviewed. Each of them has similar question, 144. The aim of this is to check what are the predominant paths that wealthy persons pursue. And after nung study nito, they found out na merong 3 way kung paano ka maging wealthy. And the number 1 type is the savers investors. So, itong mga savers investor, it made up of 22% of those from studies. Itong mga saver investor, wala silang debt. They have passive income that generated by their savings. Ibig sabihin yung savings nila, ini-invest nila, which also help to meet or exceed their standard of living. So, yung kinikita nila, lahat ng income nila, hindi yun nauubos sa standard of living lang nila. Laging may sobra. And they keep on investing. So, essentially, they spent less than what they earn. So, I think most of us as a starting investors would fall under this category. Diba? You can be a savers investors. Wala ka mang sobrang pangmalakasang talent, wala ka mang sobrang pangmalakihang business, pero your habit will still bring you there. So ano yung 5 things in common with savers investors? Number 1, they have low standard of living. And low standard of living means, naka-align yan sa kung gaano kalaki yung kinikita. Siyempre, for someone earning $1 million, 100,000 is low standard of living. Pero for some of the guys that actually earn just 20,000, 18,000 is high standard of living. So, number 2, a typically modest income. So, merong sapat-sapat lang na income. An income that exceeds their standard of living. Basta ang importante, maliit man yung income, mas malaki yun kaysa sa expense. A long-term savings plan of 20% of more. So kahit na maliit yung income niya, minimake sure niya na at least 20% no, nai-invest niya. And consistent yun in prudent savings behavior over many years. Kasi yung number nyo, hindi mo gagawin yan overnight. Kaya kahit na malaki siya, kakayanin mo siya kasi hindi mo naman yan gagawin overnight. You have to consistently and prudently do it over many years. So that's your way to financial freedom. Number 2 type is the virtuosos. Approximately 27% of the rich people in the studies are virtuosos. Sila yung mga pangmalakasan na CEO. Yung mga umaakyat sa corporate ladder taon-taon na po-promote, sila ayan naman yung career progression nila. Yan yung way nila to wealth. So they were among the best at what they did in their career. They tend to work for large corporations over long periods and develop their careers, often beginning at the bottom and many years later arriving at the top. They had an average wealth of $4 million, which took around 20 years to create. So meron yung iba tsinatsagaan, diba talaga, inaakit yung corporate ladder. Kasi dun sila kumukuha ng wealth. Why? Kasi at some point, kapag ka mga nasa president level na, may mga profit sharing na yan. And therefore, kung malaki yung company, profit sharing nila, malalaki din. And kaya malaki rin yung mga kita nila. So you could either be this guy. You could either be Jack Welch. Siya yung pangmalakasan na CFO, I think, ng General Electric. And you can also be the dreamers. 51% ng na-interview are made up of the dreamers. They pursued a big dream and were able to turn it into reality. So, which eventually provided them with an enormous income, profit, or gain. So, they accumulated an average of $7.4 million. So, you could be the virtuoso, you could be the dreamer, or you can be the savvy savers. So which one you choose? Ang end of the line is for you to choose which way you're going to take to have your financial freedom. So our takeaway is there is more than one way to build a fortune, and that across all levels of wealth. The common denominator was that it took many years to accumulate their wealth, patience, and commitment too. So sa ating mga Pilipino, yun yung medyo downside. We tend to get or to dwell on those investment programs na mabilisan yung return. Kaya normally nasa scam tayo. But real wealth took years to accumulate with patience and commitment. So last message, being wealthy is about being responsible and productive, taking stewardship, giving to others, serving society, and creating a legacy. Wealth is a tool to help people across generations live productive and fulfilling lives. To be good citizen and teaching one children to do the same. It is about putting values squarely at the center of things. Without values, you don't have wealth, just money. So with that, I hope I was able to impart some ideas and learnings for you guys tonight. If you have any question, please feel free to comment, speak up, unmute, or go directly to your financial advisor. Thank you so much, guys.
Ayun,
Nice.
Nice one. Thank you,
Galing.
UM. So guys, I would like to appreciate you honor. Gusto ko i-honor yung mga time nyo, yung binigay nyong 2 hours and 15 minutes sa ating lahat. I hope naging valuable at may nabigay kaming value sa inyo ngayong gabi. And then, if meron pa kayong mga questions and the following days magkaroon kayo ng questions, feel free to ask the persons na nag-invite sa inyo. And I'm pretty sure sobrang magiging willing silang tulungan kayo. So, ayun guys. So, siguro tapos na tayo and then mag-request na lang sana ako na isang bagay. Mag-picture sana tayo.
Di pa ako dinig.
Narinig ka, Joms?
Narinig ka, di ka lang
Ayan,
pinapansin.
guys, sa mga na-invite na, actually, series of seminars. So, most probably, invite din namin kayo. And if you have friends na interested din, pwede nyo rin silang dalhin. Mas maganda yon. Kasi ang next topic namin is for educational fund. So, if you have relatives na kakasimula pa lang ng family, may kids, pwede nyo silang i-invite. Isi-send na lang namin yung link. So that's very, sobrang ganda rin ng discussion na yon. Kung paano nila i-build yung educational fund para sa future ng anak nila. Then, yung next topic naman, na ako yung mag-head is more on health naman yon. Paano mo i-cover yung kabuuan ng health mo in terms of medical expenses? Ano-ano yung mga options mo sa market para kapag nagkasakit ka, hindi ikaw yung maglalabas ng pera. Merong someone na mag-finance for you para doon. So yun yung next two sessions natin na sobrang ganda. Educational fund and health. Alright.
Ayun. Thank you, Jom, sa pag-plug ng mga upcoming webinars natin. So guys, requestan na ako, last request bago tayo umalis. Magpakita naman kayo saglit ng mga faces nyo. Picture lang tayo. At least may remembrance tayo.
Yay. Shoutout sa mga kasama ko na in-invite ko dito. Thank you. Dayan, thank you. Siya ang nag-iisang invited na nag-invite din.
Ayan.
Show your beautiful faces, guys.
Sige, ngitin.
Ganda naman ng
ngiti
boses
tayo.
na yun.
Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Shoutout din
Hi,
pala sa mga
Danica.
friends ko.
Hi, MJ. Hi, ate.
May friends ako na nasa Japan dito eh.
Andito pa ba yung mga nanalo kanina sa games?
Nandito pa. Si MJ, si ate, si Maan, saka si...
Maan.
Ano ba yan?
Christian.
Nandiyan pa si Jay.
Ayan.
Kukunin ko sana yung prize kapag umalis na eh.
Hi,
Hindi,
JM.
nandiyan pa naman sila. Ayan, picture na.
Picture
Okay
na.
na,
Ngiti na, ngiti.
sige.
One.
Sige, smile lang kayo kasi 2 pages to.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Ayan.
kahit naka-laptop na ako, ang dami-dami natin. So, I'm so happy. Sige.
Wow. Umabot
Okay,
tayong 50 plus.
1, 2, 3, smile.
Alright.
One more.
Wait lang
Thank you
ha.
so much, UMT na. Napakagaling nyo po talaga.
You're welcome, guys.
Isa pa ha, second page. Smile lang kayo. 1, 2, 3, smile.
Alright.
Okay, thank you so
May mga
much.
ipa-plug ka
guys.
bang pages, Daniel?
Ayun guys, last na to. Huwag na muna kayo umalis. Speaking of plug, meron tayo plug. So eto guys, dahil susulitin ko na ako yung host, unahin ko na yung akin. Pa-like and support naman ng page ko. My page is Daniel Sacramento, CPA Licensed Financial Advisor. So pa-support naman guys. Tapos yung next is kay Jomar.
Yan, sa akin yan. Sobrang ganda
Guys,
niyan.
support natin to. Sobrang ganda nitong page niya. Like and subscribe. Engineered
Bias,
Finances. And then next
Thank
naman
you.
natin is ito si Jomar. Kasi baka may gusto kayo matutunan about Excel, about analytics,
Yung mga
matutulungan din niya
CPA
kayo.
dyan, na hirap sa Excel, ayan.
Ayan,
Yan ang
kay Jom.
pinakamagaling.
RJC, ayan. Sobrang
RJC
galing
Excel in
sa
Finance.
Excel.
Hello.
Tapos,
Yung space ba nasama? Oh no.
Ayan, ito
Nasama.
isa pa. Yung isa naman, yung The Ready Ant PH, ito naman yung kay Ate Seti. Like
Yung
and
video kasi yan, guys. So, kaya i-click
Oo.
nyo yan, matutuwa kayo.
Ano na lang pa like and follow na lang guys. Ayun, thank you. Yung iba kasi wala pang page. Bye-bye
Yes,
guys.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pwede nyo ring i-like yung space engineering ha kapag may mga kailangan kayo sa design.
Bye-bye po.
Bye-bye. Thank
Abraham,
you so
stay po
much.
tayo 5 minutes.
Oo nga pala, may meeting pa tayo, no? Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye po guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you, Alec.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sir
Thank you,
Edward.
Yel.
Thank you, Pinsan Rob. Nandito
Thank you,
nga pala yung
Diana.
Pinsan ko.
Ayan. Uy,
Francis.
Thank you, Rob.
Si Christian.
Mag-FA na yata si Ma'am Diana at si Sir Ram.
Ay, oo nga, no, nandito pa rin.
Sige, bye-bye na po.
Kapatid yata yun ni Jessa eh. Kapatid ko
Talaga
pala
ba?
Jessa.
Pinsan
Oh,
ko.
Susi.
Susi. Susi rin eh. Oo,
Sino po si
kapatid niya.
sis?
Sino si sis?
Bye-bye na po.
Sa akin yan.
Bye-bye na po. Thank you.
Baka sister.
Ayan.
Ayan. One
Ayan,
page
guys.
lang ulit tayo.
Naman.
One page lang.
Guys, kaya ako po ni-request to picture tayo.
Ayan, ang ganda.
Ayun nga pala.
Isang buong
Bernie,
page.
bakit
Ako paling nakausap ng ano pala
Ganyan
nun.
sa'yo.
Game.
Jessa, may
natin.
abot ako
sige.
sa'yo. Jessa, may abot ako sa'yo.
Siyempre, iba yung
Kaya
view
mo.
niya.
Ayun, ano. Oo nga, iba yung view ko.
Sige, ready?
Nakuha ko na.
1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay.
Guys, ano rin po pala kasi
Magkano ba tayo?
gusto ko rin makatulong sana sa next webinar natin.
Okay.
So, yun, kumbaga, hingi tayo ng mga feedback sa nangyari ngayon para next webinar, ano yung improve natin. Tapos, pero bago yun, ano yung nag-work, ano yung sa tingin nyo maganda sa naging webinar natin ngayon?
Ako muna.
Sige, go.
I think, sa akin personally, ginamit ko siyang strategy to approach people. So, meron ako, di ba ginagamit ko yung ginawa ni Josh? So, meron ako doon na pag mga strangers, yung usual lang na script yung ginagamit ko. Pero kapag within my market, na feeling ko mahihiya sila kapag in-approach ko, feeling ko hindi sila magre-reply. Ang ginagawa ko, sinisend ko yung link na to. Uy, kasi di ba generic yung script natin eh. Pero kapag sinend ko yung link, uy, hopefully makatulong to sa'yo. Bali, ito yung i-discuss sa seminar na to. Ganon. Eh di, wala akong hindi ako nahiya. Kasi sinend ko lang sa kanya yung link eh. Tapos yun, uma-attend sila. So ano rin siya, opener din siya ng somehow ng conversation. Merong iba, uy, sorry, busy ako pero hindi ako maka-attend ganun. Pero at least may conversation kami. So pag binalikan ko siya, ang bait pala ni Joms. Inano niya ako dati. In-invite niya ako sa seminar. Mga ganun. So yun.
Yung
Pero
sa next webinar
sige.
natin, so hindi naman siya din specific for parents lang. It could be for singles din, pero kasi baka may kakilala sila na like may kapatid din sila, na may anak. So hindi tayo mag-hesitate din na parang dapat ang target natin ay may mga anak lang. So
Yeah.
wala nang pinipili din.
Sino pala yung may top invite, TJ Daniel?
Ang may top natin is si Jomar, ang sumunod si Jessa.
Nice.
Oh, ang galing ni Jessa.
Pero ang galing ni Jessa, Joms, okay na yung credit, alam mo na naman sa'yo. Pero congratulate
Nice
Jessa.
one, Jessa.
Si Jessa po ay
Galing ni
naka-18.
Jessa.
Isipin nyo guys, 18, majority yan.
Ay, tsaka
Congrats,
wait lang
Jessa.
pala.
Important ko yun.
Lahat yung magiging lives.
Oo. Ay guys, hindi siya doon matatapos ha. Kailangan ma-check natin yung conversion rate natin. Ilan
Ayun,
sa mga
Jess.
in-invite mo?
Sa mga
Ilan sa mga
nag-attend.
in-invite mo yung naging client?
Tapos guys, naka-record naman to para dun sa mga naka-miss out. Syempre, tanongin niyo muna